of people in my community have been asking me to create a guide on which exclusive equipment they should prioritize first. So cool, I decided to create a guide, but under the framework if I were to start playing OUTERPLANE from scratch, these are the EEs that I would prioritize first. But before we go any further, I want to give out a disclaimer. You'll want to eventually get all the exclusive equipment for every single unit in the endgame, so this is just a guideline to help you properly manage your resources during the early and mid game. Capish? Cool. Let's understand how I've structured the table. We'll begin by looking at the get eventually section. Like I said, you want to eventually get all the exclusive equipments, so units in this section are just units you'll only look at getting them after your priorities are in check. But if there are any units in this tier that you absolutely sim for, go for it. But just know that I won't be talking about them in this guide. In the prioritize these first section, exclusive equipments in this section drastically improves your overall account performance in PvP and PvE, so they are your absolute must get first before you start moving on to any other exclusive equipments to get. And lastly, for the improved units capability section, like the name suggests, units that I put in here basically have exclusive equipments that improves their capabilities and enhances their kit. So it's worth getting the exclusive equipment for these units first before you dabble into getting the others that are in the get eventually tier. As you can see, I've already structured the priority list in a way where if I were to start playing OUTERPLANE from scratch, the first unit I would prioritize would be Tio. Her exclusive equipment gives her the ability to priority push your team whenever she uses her S2, which helps mitigate some of the downside of having shitty gear at the start of your journey. Plus, you're gonna use her quite religiously in Adventure, Towers, Hunts, and even PvP during the early and mid stages of the game, so you'll get a lot of mileage from getting her EE as soon as possible. Once you clear Season 1 story, you'll get access to the premium banner where you can finally pull for damaged units. So I'll be looking at getting their EEs next simply because they are waifu and you'll be using them a lot in every content, especially PvP. After that, depending on your hero pool, these next few units would be the ones that I would prioritize next. Alice's exclusive equipment grants her a speed buff at the start of the turn, which means that she can be built anywhere from 250 to 260 speed and be able to steal initiative from some initiators in the game, like Tamara and Valentine. Eternal's EE is also a top priority to get since it grants her an extra turn after using her S3, which is quite significant considering you'll be dedicating Eternal's life to farming Chimera and PvE. The extra turn means she is able to do more damage, essentially helping you be more efficient in your damage output in PvE when turn count matters. Nortia's EE is also a high priority because it gives her fierce offensive at the start of the battle, which is her bread and butter, and that's what makes Nortia Nortia, right? I've tried to play Nortia without her exclusive equipment before, when she was first released, and she doesn't work properly. And lastly, Veronica's exclusive equipment basically just makes her deal more damage since it gives her a HP scaling multiplier. Now once I've gotten EEs for all those units I've talked about, I'll start looking at getting EEs for the units in this section because these units in this tier have EEs that improve their overall capabilities and enhances their skill kit. Very quickly, let me go through their exclusive equipments and what they do for these units. Lila's EE improves her passive and grants your team a shield so that you have better survivability. Valentine's EE gives you a chance to dual attack with the highest attacker, which can potentially help you clear content that you shouldn't have, giving you that extra oomph. Marion's EE basically helps you cheese guild raid and PvE content even quicker with curse stacks now being applied in her S2. Edith becomes a bruiser that is very hard to control because of the cleansing given by her EE whenever she counters. Mayne starts becoming a bigger menace with her EE, especially when she's at critical HP since her speed will be boosted. Este's EE starts giving her priority whenever the team gets damage, and we all know how much Este heals the team for. Beth becomes a DPS that takes infinite turns with her EE if any one of the opponents has bleed and ends their turn. Tamara's EE gives her 60 more AP on top of the 25 that is given for just being a ranger, which means that she has the option to begin bursting skill as soon as she takes her turn. Christina starts becoming a pseudo stripper when your opponent uses a non-attack skill while buffing your team. Akari will now land a 3-turn unbuffable and defense break with the EE, which is, by the way, disgusting. Saren will begin priority pushing with her S2, which can help you take turns a lot quicker. Rin's EE makes her an insane DPS against fire bosses like Guardian and Mateos. Sterbby will hit you for much harder because of her increased attack based on her lost HP from her EE, making her arguably the queen of playing the long game. Hanbuli starts turn cycling a lot faster with her EE, giving her priority whenever she is hit. Noah gets extra damage from her EE when she uses her S3, similar to DST and Maxwell's S3. Ritree's EE can potentially turn her into an S3 spam bot if she high rolls, consistently giving shield to her lowest HP ally. and same goes for Narukang since her EE resets the Typhoon Kick whenever she kills you with it. Maxwell's EE grants extra damage to mages in his team, so you can potentially pair him with Damage Estee and enjoy watching D Estee nuke for upwards of 120k damage. Stella's exclusive equipment gives a priority pushback on her S3, which could potentially disrupt your opponent's turn order while stealing all of their buffs. So yeah, this would be the way I would personally go about prioritizing which EE I would get if I were to start OUTERPLANE from scratch. But listen, if you still have trouble and you want help, join the Discord server linked in the descriptions down below and pick up the OUTERPLANE role. And if you're still having trouble with the armor dungeons, check out this video where I break down each of the boss's mechanics and units I recommend you use.